My dad is furious that my mum slept with other people in an open marriage he wanted. My parents got married when they were super young. My dad knocked up my mum, and their parents married them off. My grandfather was able to set up some business for my dad in a big city, and they moved here soon after my birth. My mum grew up in a conservative southern town where she was taught to be a submissive wife, and even after moving to the big city, she didn't spend much time socializing. She had no friends and never went out. My dad was only there to provide for us. He was always away on business, and he wasn't there as a husband for my mum or as a father to me. My dad made a lot of money, so we never lacked anything. Growing up, I became my mum's best friend. We would talk about everything. I pushed her to make friends and to find hobbies. After years of pushing, she started going to a nearby park and made her first friend, a gym trainer. Encouraged by her friend and me, she decided to join the gym. She met a few more people there and started having some semblance of a social life, but she still continued to tell me everything. I think my dad's new secretary gave him the idea, but he asked my mum for an open marriage almost a year ago. He told her he wasn't happy in their marriage and that she wasn't providing him with everything he wanted. My mum, who is a Christian wife, was mortified, and she told me about the proposal in tears. I suggested she get a divorce, but she said she didn't believe in it, and she wouldn't be the one to end their marriage. As my dad pushed, I knew exactly where this would end up if my mom agreed. Her friend and I convinced her. My mom was hesitant at first, but she agreed with the condition that they would be completely transparent with each other. My dad was a middle-aged, 41, man with a belly, and my mum, 39, was an athletic woman who worked out regularly. I'm a 22-year-old woman, by the way. I don't know how my dad was so blind or what he thought would happen. I helped create online dating profiles for my mum almost 6 months ago. After getting an insane number of matches, choosing from them, and chatting with them for months, my mum started hooking up with a few people. Getting all this attention has provided a massive boost to her confidence, and she seems better. My dad hooked up with his secretary almost immediately. He has had very little luck with other ladies. With their transparency thing, my mum tells him about all her hookups. A few weeks ago, my dad screamed at my mum for some minor thing. Usually my mum would have apologized, but with her new confidence, she didn't back down. It has been constant fights for the last few weeks. My dad keeps starting fights by making snide remarks about my mum's clothing or appearance. He almost even called my mum a tramp, but stopped himself. I think open marriage finally sunk in. My mum told me he tried to have a conversation about stopping their open marriage, but she immediately shot it down. I think they'll split up. My dad was never there for either of us, but the thought of my parents splitting up still feels weird. I don't feel bad for my dad, but I wish he put effort into his family. I am happy for my mum though. And now in the comments, honestly, I might just sit down with some popcorn to watch this implosion. So he basically wanted his wife's permission to bang his secretary, and when that didn't work out, he thought his reserve, in other words his wife, would be so grateful he came back to her that she would, what? Immediately end all of the attention and self-confidence she had obtained? Obviously your dad never did his research. In open marriages, it is almost always easier for the woman to find a date than a man. And the whole point of polyamory is trust and open communication for everyone involved. Every person in the pod has to consent to including any new person. He wanted to be able to sleep around with whoever he wanted and never answer to anyone, while still expecting his primary wife to attend to all of his needs. Keeping house, tracking bills and appointments, providing him emotional labor, providing him offspring, and doing all of the work involved in raising them, etc. He didn't want her to enjoy any of the benefits of an open marriage because he never saw her as an actual person. She was never more than a combination maid and broodmare in his eyes, an object to be controlled by him. Now that he's no longer in control, he is losing his crap. He got what he deserved, and the secretary isn't probably there for the belly. It's a good thing that your relationship with your mom is this good, and that she became so much more confident. Secretary wanted him to get a divorce and marry her. She wanted the money, not to be a side piece. Oh, there's a Reddit post exactly like this. The OP of that post cheated with his secretary thinking it was love. The secretary baby-trapped him because she thought he was rich, but in fact, it was his wife he cheated on that was rich. Lol. Instant karma and regret. Screw that guy. And now on to the update. A few days after my previous post, my dad left our home and had a divorce served to Mum in a week. My grandparents didn't know about any of this, but my dad told them when he served the divorce. He also implied to them that my mum was cheating on him. Both sets of grandparents came to our home and started berating my mum. I kept screenshots of all my parents' communications, and my mum showed them to them, and it got way worse after that. Grandparents started fighting each other, blaming each other's children for causing all of this. A few days after this, my mum's old church friends came to our home. Back when my mum used to go to church, they used to look down on her for being from a small town. My mum has always been a very caring and non-judgmental person, so she disagreed with their bigotry, and they began excluding her from their activities. After she met her gym friends, my mum stopped going to church entirely. These church friends started calling my mum a tramp, and she kicked them out. My mum is on a cut right now, so she has very defined abs and arms. So along with all of the normal stuff getting thrown at her, my grandparents accused her of having a man body, and she had a lot of random transphobia thrown at her. Her trainer friend has been a great support throughout all of this. She contacted the attorney she used for her divorce, and my mum is spending a lot of time at her house. Turns out, the business my dad is running is owned by Mum. It was set up by my mum's dad in her name, so it belongs to her. I did not know this until now, and assumed that my dad owned it. The whole situation is a huge mess right now. Dad is living in some hotel, and my grandparents left yesterday after a week of fighting and trying to force my parents back together. I know there is a lot more divorce drama to come, but I hope it calms down for now. And now in the comments, why is it always the one who wants to open up the relationship, the person who gets angry that their partner is seeing other people too? What do you think open relationship means? Because they don't want an open relationship, they want a hall pass to cheat while the other remains monogamous. This is absolutely the correct answer. Honestly, it is glaringly obvious in these situations that, or they are so full of themselves, they didn't take 5 whole seconds to think about how it would be to be on the receiving end, because it's all just about them and no one else. Something similar happened with my ex. He wanted to separate since we were religious and got married so young, and he wanted to sow his wild oats. He would talk to me at length about all the women he was interested in to get advice. He failed on Tinder, failed in person, and even failed in the mental health ward while he was there. He hit on every female nurse and patient. I was too busy focusing on the kids and keeping afloat when he stopped paying child support. Then the opportunity arose, and I hooked up one time, and he lost it. I had to get a restraining order, he was so irate, and tried to break down my door while on all sorts of substances. He was arrested several times for violating the order, and fortunately, I had a good door that kept me safe. It is always the men that have little hope for success that try this and then get shocked when their wife doesn't even need to try. There is a lot of ways that women get the crap end of the stick, but hooking up and dating apps is our realm. Men who think they are going to just bang a bunch of hot women because they are single now are in for a rude awakening. If I wanted to, I could screw a different guy morning and night on end for years, and I'm not even classically hot. So don't tempt me with a good time by opening up the relationship. Our next post is titled, "Am I the asshole for not wanting my husband to go to his daughter's fencing competition? I, 29 female, am married to my husband, 32 male. He has a daughter from a previous relationship, 12 female, who takes part in competitive fencing. I have a good relationship with her, and we are friendly. She lives with her mum, but I see her whenever she stays with us, and I've hung out with her plenty. She has a competition on Thursday, and my husband is flying down to see her tomorrow to spend a few days with her before the competition, and to see the competition. Normally, I wouldn't have an issue with this, but I'm 39 weeks pregnant with our first child. I could go at any moment, and I have no family at all. I've asked him not to go, and suggested that we send her a gift down instead. He is insisting that he has to go, and that I will be fine. He has even suggested that my best friend come to stay with me while he is gone, just to be safe. I normally wouldn't mind him going for this, and would even encourage it, but I'm scared and I want him with me right now. He feels she will be too upset if he misses it, and he has to work hard to keep his relationship with her, given the fact he is separated from her mother and having a kid with me. I feel awful for even asking him to not go, and incredibly selfish, as yes, his daughter is important, and I never want to get in the way of their relationship, but I am just terrified of going into labor when he is not there. He has made it clear that he is going no matter what, and is implying that I am being unreasonable to ask him to do otherwise. I don't know, perhaps I am being selfish. Edit. Information that has come up in the comments that should have been in post. Part of the reason I'm scared is that I'm unlikely to last the week. Have been having a hard time with the pregnancy, and I am classed as high risk due to being diabetic. He is also flying out tomorrow and returning Friday evening. Edit 2. Also, yes, for those wondering, I am set to be induced due to being diabetic. It is going to happen on Saturday, which is why he's coming back on Friday. But I don't think I'll last that long. And now in the comments, not the asshole. If my husband did this, he'd be returning to divorce papers and his stuff on the sidewalk. With a pregnant wife this far along, he shouldn't be traveling at all, much less for 5 days. Plus, it's a high-risk pregnancy. Of course, the birth of a baby is more important than a sports event. He is underestimating his 12-year-old by assuming that she would be mad if he skipped the competition. I'm pretty sure she would understand the reason. Not the asshole. There will be other fencing competitions, but there will be only one birth for this child. Also, his daughter is old enough to understand, and he should have no issue with making up for it at a later date. I feel like the men commenting here are clueless, single, and will probably stay that way. The idiot who said it's highly unlikely that she will have the baby in the 5 days he's gone between weeks 39 and 40 is just so incredibly ignorant that I would be embarrassed if I was his mother. Not the asshole. You have a few waving red flags with your husband. First, he has never put you ahead of his daughter, which means your kid is going to be second place. You are vulnerable because you don't have any other family, but this man has made it clear he is not your family. You know that because he dismisses the idea that he won't be there for the birth of your child. I think what you need to do is stop insisting he doesn't go. He has made his choices, and you have to decide what the consequences are. Let's be clear, your husband is the one being selfish in this situation. It is insane that he managed to try and convince you that you were being unreasonable and selfish. This man does not care about you, and I don't know how you end up staying with him. If you can go and stay with your friend now before he leaves, then he'll understand that he is not coming back to you and a baby, but to an empty house, because those are the consequences of abandoning you. I know some people will see that as extreme, but honestly, read this post. What kind of relationship can you have with someone who never has to be there for you? You will always be keeping score and comparing what he does for his daughter versus yours, and I guarantee your kid will get the short end of the stick. Protect your child from the damage this man will do to them. And now onto the update. Hey everyone, I want to thank everyone who commented on my initial post. Your comments were very helpful, and my doctor ended up deciding that I needed an emergency C-section on Wednesday. My best friend is an absolute saint and went with me to the hospital. She wasn't allowed in the room, so spent that entire time trying to get in touch with my husband. We only managed to get in contact with him after our daughter was born. Once he knew she and I were healthy and fine, he didn't want to fly back. He said we were fine now, and the competition still hadn't happened, so there was no point in upsetting his daughter, and he would be flying back on Friday anyway. I was rather worn out and numb at this point, so didn't argue, though my friend called him every swear word she could think of. What hurt the most, though, is that he didn't ask for a single picture of our daughter or to Zoom to see her. On Friday morning, he told me he'd be missing his flight back as he felt under the weather and he didn't want to risk it being COVID and bringing it back. I admit this kinda broke me a little, and when I asked him if he didn't want to come home, he told me I was being ridiculous. At this point, I had enough and told him to come back whenever he felt like it, but I would be staying with my friend with the baby when I got out of hospital, as I needed to think about some things. She had been trying to get me to come stay with her anyway, so I knew it'd be fine with her. He simply told me that was fine and to come back when I'd stopped my hissy fit. I am done. Not once has he asked to see our daughter or even showed concern for either of us following the emergency C-section. I grew up in care. A mother alone is better than no one, and I know that firsthand. I am not going to try and make things work just for her sake. My best friend and her parents are currently at my home getting all my things and the baby things to move them to my friend's home. I've also decided on the baby's name. I wanted to name her Violet initially after my best friend V. My husband shot that name down immediately when we knew I was having a girl, as he felt it was an old lady's name. But honestly, I couldn't have done any of this without her. So yeah, that's where I am right now, in a whole lot of pain emotionally and physically, but I have my little girl in my arms. I will likely be talking to some lawyers soon to ask what to do going forward. Thank you again to everyone. You have all helped a great deal. And now in the comments, firstly, congratulations on your baby. So glad Violet, gorgeous name and not at all an old lady's name, is healthy. I wish you both happy healing and that she sleeps well and long. Secondly, I'm so sorry that your husband has shown you who he is and where his priorities lie. Violet does not deserve an asshole who doesn't value her the same as his other children, nor do you deserve that in a partner. Thirdly, good choice getting a lawyer. Regardless of how you choose to move forward, the lawyer can explain your options. What is going to look best to the courts, i.e., do the judges locally like to see an attempt at counseling, what level of visitation will be favorable, but not set an expectation of a custody agreement you don't want, etc. Best of luck to you and your baby, and support to you and the people around you. I hate to say this, but he was actively avoiding you. It wasn't as if he was at the game already and couldn't hear the phone. No, the game had not even started, and he knew that you would want to contact him while he was away. So he decided that neither you nor your daughter was worth his time when the both of you needed him the most. I hope you pull through this even stronger than you are. He definitely does not deserve you nor your daughter. Honestly, divorce him. There is literally nothing that can be done. He could have gone to 1,000 future competitions for his daughter. He can never go back to your daughter's birth. The only way to move forward is to forgive him for doing the most stupidly selfish thing ever. He has been rude, vile, inconsiderate, and generally horrible. It sounds like you have a good support system. You should stay with him until he respectfully apologizes with full emotional competence for what he did wrong at the very least. I'd probably just dump someone solely for calling my completely justified emotions a hissy fit. Even if the emotions aren't justified, that's still a really shitty way to talk to your partner. Imagine being overdue and your husband is not treating you and the birth of a child as a priority. The abandonment and the betrayal. The second a partner invalidates your feelings, it's time to rethink the relationship. So many unforgivable acts. Leaving when your high-risk pregnant wife is 39 weeks. I was expected to go past my due date and still ended up giving birth at 39 weeks. Then not rushing back after hearing about an emergency C-section? His wife could have died, and their baby girl would not have a single person who could make medical decisions. And even if a C-section goes swimmingly, OP still had a major surgery and was literally sliced open. Everyday life would be a challenge, not to mention newborn care. Bless her friend for being there for her. I hope OP has a good life away from that pathetic excuse of a husband/dad. My wife is pregnant now, and it's been made abundantly clear that starting at 36 weeks, I am not more than 20 minutes from her until delivery. I can't fathom going anywhere far enough away to require an aircraft. Not a chance. Anyway guys, that's where I'm going to end this episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you think of it down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.